I hate my stepmother because she abused me growing up simply because she hated me and made my life even more miserable when I came out. But my dad says I'm being childish, stuck in the past, and need to let it go. For the first time in my life, I 28F got into a big argument with my dad context. My parents got divorced when I was 5, and he almost immediately moved in with her. I lived with my mom and went there every other weekend and half of the school holidays. The best moments of the weekend were the drives back and forth, since most of the time it was only the two of us. The rest of the time was spent with my stepmother and 2 of her children. To today, my wife and I are buying a house, and I asked him if he could check it out on Wednesday. His answer: just trust the estate agent. He doesn't have time because he may be watching my stepsister's kids. He's watching those kids every effing week of the year. He's been doing that for years and always complains about how much energy it takes. I felt let down because he rarely has the occasion to show me that he cares. We have a cordial, yet not deep relationship. This was one of the biggest steps of my life, and he didn't even try to be a part of it. I thought that maybe he was hurt by the fact that we didn't invite him to our current house. So I told him it wasn't personal, that I had nothing against him, but that I didn't feel like having my stepmother at my place, because she's always been mean to me. But he was welcome to come by himself. He refused and got offended that he discovered I didn't like his wife. Like, open your eyes. She hates on me all the time. He said I needed to let go of the past and offer to get dinner someday soon to talk it out. I insisted on talking it out on the phone because I didn't feel like seeing him, and it wasn't a conversation to have in a restaurant. Here's some examples of why I can't stand her anymore. Are they exaggerated? Is he right, and should I let go of them? When I was doing ballet 5 to 6 years old, she'd say that I was too fat to dance. She forced me to get my armpits and legs waxed at 10 because she was afraid that shaving would look bad in her wedding pics. It hurt like hell, by the way, and I still remember how I felt like crap didn't like me staying at home, doing homework, reading, or playing video games. So I had to go out and hang out with my stepsister's friends. She made homophobic comments about gay marriage whenever she had the chance. After I came out, she encouraged me to sleep with men in case it turned me straight. I was 14 at the time. I never told my dad called me too fat when I was 16 for a whole summer, called me too skinny at 18. I became super self-conscious about my body and lost a lot of weight. She undermined all my successes, especially school-related ones. She talked behind my back a lot to other family members. She would always disagree with me about everything. She would spend whole dinners talking about how me, being a vegetarian, is wrong and stupid. Never said a single wrong word about her son's vegetarian girlfriend, though. She gives me the cold shoulder very often or just acts super cold when I'm around 23 years of knowing her, and 1.5 years of therapy later, I finally unloaded what I had to say. My dad thinks he did his best as a dad, that she has nothing against me, and that I'm still stuck in the past. He's now blaming my wife for my changing behavior. I used to be afraid to speak up for myself. I'm not his girl anymore, because I don't smile as much as I used to. I'm done putting on a nice face when I'm being walked all over. Thanks. Well, Dad, it's called therapy. Was I wrong? Am I really living in the past? Should I have accepted his invite to talk about it face to face? /relevant comments. Commenter: you're not wrong. You've had to protect yourself from an openly hostile step-monster for far too long. And yes, based on what you said here, he chose his new family over you.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
The feeling of exclusion and watching him be happy with them must have been excruciating. Your step is a terrible person, basically bullying you for existing. I don't think that's about you personally at all. It's because you're a reminder of your dad's previous marriage. I would not be surprised if she was the reason your parents split up to begin with. Opie's response: thank you so much for your comment. I needed to hear that my wife has had my back and been an amazing support, but having outsiders validate your feelings feels really good. For sure she was. My dad even introduced me to her before leaving my mom. Update 2 days later. Here is an update. Since some of you asked for it, I tried to keep it short, but it's not easy. Hope I'm not being too long. My big brother Marcus texted me yesterday evening asking why I made such a big decision and saying that Dad is not doing okay. I called my brother Marcus this morning to talk about it. To make a long story short, Marcus's version, I'm screwing up the family dynamic and making things hard on Dad. Therapy is mostly BS, and I'm just being difficult. My mom Elena complained as well. I've been parentified and finally, a few months ago, felt brave enough to set boundaries. I haven't been nice to Dad because I didn't give him my address. A few months ago, Dad asked for my address and said he'd stop by without warning, as he always does. I told him not to do that. I hated it. He brushed it off. I never gave him my address to keep my peace and quiet. I shouldn't have said anything about my stepmother and should think about the consequences it has on the whole family that my words have been too harsh. My reply, I didn't tell him his wife was a effing beach, even though it's my opinion. So no, I haven't been too harsh. It changes everything for everyone. I should be more thankful to my parents. I shouldn't be so hard and should let people have their way, or I should have spoken up earlier, my version. I've never been brave enough to speak my truth. Both my brothers Marcus and David have had the chance to live their lives. I was the one behind taking care of my mom Elena and basically being her parent. I have a right to decide for myself. I can refuse calls after 8 p.m., decide who I want in my home, and say no when I don't want things to happen. I needed therapy because I've been complacent with everyone my whole life. I finally deserve a chance to live my own life, and I'm setting my rules. Accept them, don't argue about them, and either stay or leave. After talking to my brother Marcus on the phone, I decided to call my dad. Apparently, he understood that I didn't want to see him with his wife anymore. What I meant was I don't want her in my home. I told my dad that my home is my safe space, and I don't want people I'm not comfortable around in it. He laughed, said he loved me but that my reasoning was stupid. I told him she hurt me, and I made a list if he wanted examples. He laughed about me making a list. I gave examples. He excused them all, said I exaggerated. According to him, I was well treated. She didn't beat me or abuse me. I was fed and she did things for me. He couldn't give me a single example of what she did for me. He didn't care about anything on the list. From my previous post, brushed it off. Even when I told him, he never defended me. He said I was still his daughter. He loved me, but he wasn't going to see me without his wife. That we would just call anyway. He added that his wife has been crying for days about it, like WTF. He told me I should have talked to her. I told him I never felt safe enough to talk to her face to face, but I could call her now. Should I call her to tell her why I basically hate her? I just can't decide. It would be liberating and nobody could use the argument. You should be an adult and talk to her directly, but at the same time it feels weird to call someone to tell them why you hate them. I've always been conflict avoidant, so this is also new to me. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Do not call her. Think about it. Your dad just basically said you're full of it and that nothing you say, feel, or think has any merit or requires anyone to take seriously. Do you think she will be different? You won't get closure from others. Closure only comes from within. You cannot force them to see things from your perspective. You cannot even convince them to acknowledge that you have won. They cannot even comprehend the fact that your perspective is what your life is lived by, not theirs. Take a deep breath. Think about what you expect from healthy, respectful, and loving relationships. Ask yourself why this is important to you. Then define the consequences you are willing to live with in case of breach. Commenter 2. Your brother Marcus is pissed because with you making healthy boundaries, he's now going to be taking the brunt of your parents. BS. Commenter 3. You have stated a perfectly reasonable and acceptable boundary that she is not welcome in your home and given perfectly valid reasons why. If your father, who values his wife more than his daughter, is not willing to accept and adhere to this, then it's his loss. What loss is it to you not to see a father who allowed his wife to abuse you, who never defended or protected you, who expected you to be the carer for your mother Elena while your brothers Marcus and David got to live their lives? Ask yourself this. If the choice is to only see your father, if you are willing to allow his wife continued to access an opportunity to abuse you, or to see neither of them at all, isn't it an obvious choice for you to make your brothers Marcus and David never had to deal with what you had to deal with? If they are so lacking in empathy and understanding that they are unable to understand and sympathize with your experiences, then they aren't a great loss either. Sometimes the family we are born into isn't worth keeping, and we are better off finding and creating our own family to love, to spend time with, and to rely on. Second update 6 days later. Thank you to everyone who left a comment on the previous posts. I read all the individual comments, some multiple times. I've loved the rocking boat analogy, by the way. It's helped me so much through it, and my wife Sophia had a good laugh at some of the comments. You've all been wonderful and so supportive. Thank you again for those who asked. Here is the update. I followed the overwhelming majority of your advice and didn't call my stepmother. I didn't reach out to her or my dad. My wife Sophia and I we said yes cards to announce that we got married. We only invited our 6 close friends and celebrated in a villa 2 hours from home. We sent a total of 10 cards to family members. Here are the reactions so far. Everything is translated. Since I'm French, my dad, he surprisingly had the best reaction on my side. He texted me, "Thank you for the card, be happy, hugs and kisses." My mother Elena called me crying, saying that I heard her. She wished we had told her beforehand and was disappointed to learn it this way. She said she would have understood if I had said I was only inviting friends. She added that she needed time to process it. She canceled our dinner last night. I said I understood but still stood my ground by saying we had the wedding we wanted and that it wasn't personal. My wife Sophia's mother texted us to congratulate us and added that we looked great in our wedding gowns. My sister-in-law Isabel, oldest brother Marcus's wife, I've known her since I was 2, texted me a horrible message. She said she wouldn't thank me for the card and wouldn't keep it, that I was using the best method to cut all ties with my family. She didn't mind not being invited, but would have wanted us to tell her beforehand. She talked on the phone with my mom Elena before my mom called me, and she would have been happy for us if we had done so. She added that I was an adult but still needed to reflect on my decisions to really make sure I was making the right ones. She then sent another message to say that it was only coming from her, not my brother Marcus or my 3 teenage nieces. My response was pretty firm, saying how I found her message disgusting and unfair. She had no right to talk to me in such a harsh way. I don't ask for opinions about my choices, and I didn't question their decision when they chose to move to the other side of the country. I was simply happy for them and gave them my support when everybody was questioning their choices. My brother Marcus, her husband, just texted me that it was surprising to learn the news via card, but he kind of knew it was the way we were going. He said we looked beautiful in the photos and really happy as well. He advised me not to go no contact with those who love me. One of my nieces, their oldest daughter Camille, we're pretty close, she's 17, texted me saying we looked lovely in our pictures and she's super happy for us. She said she would have liked to share our joy on the big day, but totally understood that it was our day and we deserved to decide how it went. She added that my brother Marcus hid the card so it wouldn't be thrown away. It really helped me feel better. I'm still waiting on my other brother David's reaction, the one who called me last time, and also one of my aunts, but she's super cool. I'm not worried. My wife Sophia is waiting on her grandparents and her aunt's reactions. Here is the reason why we didn't want to tell anyone. We found it cocky to tell people we're getting married, but you're not invited. Also, my mom Elena is a pro at guilt-tripping me. She says she would have liked to know, but I'm 100% sure she would have tried to change my mind. She would have texted on D-Day something like, "Enjoy your day." Still very sad to not be part of it, but that's your decision. All my family would have talked behind my back. They do it about everybody and negativity would have ensued before our big day. We didn't want to take any risk of negative comments being made. We chose to send cards to make it more official. We printed cards with pictures and sealed them with golden wax. We didn't want to just tell them on the phone. Also, I can't tell one thing to a family member without them calling the others immediately to talk about it. Telling them one by one would have meant taking the risk of someone else announcing it. I'm sure they'd say they wouldn't do it, but I don't trust them anymore. I really don't think any of them would have been happy for us if we had told them beforehand. I think they're hurt. Additional info from OP. Thank you for all your kind comments. Some of you were kind of lost about why I didn't invite my parents to my wedding or let them know beforehand. First, we wanted the day to be about us, not a family dinner. We didn't want anyone to crash the party just to enjoy life, as we always do with our close friends. But for those who are interested in the drama behind all that, here it is. I didn't understand my childhood traumas and abuse before therapy. My wife Sophia saw them and warned me, but it took time for me to realize that she was right. I've always felt like my dad wasn't there. The only support I had from him was child support and big gifts. Don't get me wrong. I love that. He bought me a car at 18, but I would have preferred having had a real relationship with him. He was passive and knows absolutely nothing about me. He's let my stepmother be a jerk to me, call me fat, make homophobic comments during my teenage years, and make me feel like I didn't fit in or wasn't good enough. She hated that I was an introvert and made me dance at parties, go out with my sister's friends, etc. I hated having to see her. On the other hand, after my parents' divorce, I was 5. I've always felt responsible for my mother Elena. She was really sad, possibly depressed, but I couldn't see it with my child eyes. She relied on me for emotional support. I felt responsible for her happiness and for not leaving her alone. She'd always felt so lonely, and I was the one in charge of being there deep down. I was always afraid she'd commit suicide. I don't know if she ever made a comment about that, but I felt dreadfully afraid that it could happen and I needed to be there for her. Her boyfriend lived with us for 5 years. I was 12. When he moved and they got into bad arguments which could turn physical, I was always ready to jump at him if needed, even though I never had to. When I grew up and moved out, if I didn't call her twice a week, she'd call and say, "If you don't call, I don't talk to anyone," or I could be dead and nobody would know. That meant going home on weekends as a student, spending holidays with her, and making sure she had enough food on the table. She did, but always complained about finances, so I tried to help. Things got better with my mom Elena when she got a new boyfriend around 3 years ago. She doesn't demand as much, but is still bad with boundaries. They broke up in November, and she was all over my back again, calling me at 7:30 p.m. because my aunt had bought a new headset and the Bluetooth wasn't working, or calling to say that her bank app wasn't working on her computer, but it worked on her phone, and saying stuff like, "Well, it'll find a way." It's really annoying, though if only I had someone to fix it. Mind you, I'm 1 hour away. My brother Marcus, 10 years older, is 30 minutes away, but he has a family and I don't, so she wouldn't want to bother him. It was so intense that every time she called about 4 times a week, sometimes multiple times a day, I'd feel anxiety mount and feel sick to my stomach. It kind of always was this way. Anyway, if she called because I hadn't called first, there was a chance she'd make a not-so-nice comment about the fact that I didn't call, and after years of guilt-tripping, it didn't take much to make me feel guilty. I don't know if my brothers Marcus and David ever got it, though if they saw it. For example, for Christmas we bought my mom Elena a new phone. My wife Sophia helped me choose one. I ordered it, wrapped it, and left it in a bag at my mom Elena's. They were spending Christmas at my oldest brother Marcus's. I was with my wife Sophia's family and stayed there for 3 days. Mind you, none of my brothers Marcus and David, their wives, or my teenage nieces helped my mom Elena set up the phone. They thought I'd do it anyway when she got back. I have to drive 1 hour back and forth each time. To add insult to injury, when I called to wish them a Merry Christmas, after 2 minutes on the phone talking to my brother Marcus, my mom Elena interrupted to ask me if I remembered her email password, which I had changed a week prior when I had to go to her place to help because she couldn't check her emails for 3 days, as if her request was more important than me. Talking with my brother Marcus, the oldest brother Marcus agrees that it hasn't been easy on me, that he should have taken care of the phone, and that my mom Elena can be a lot. My other brother David thinks I mean for not letting my mom Elena call after 8 p.m., or that I don't answer my phone when I'm watching a movie at home, because it upsets my mom Elena. So understanding all this in therapy was hard. It made me feel like an orphan. I don't want to offend anyone I didn't have any parents. Most of my grandparents died when I was under 7, and I lost my grandmother in October. It took me some time to get over that feeling of not having parents. Somehow they feel more like a chore. I know they love me, but they don't understand how hard it is on me. I'm so thankful for my wife, Sophia. She truly saved me by showing me that my relationships with my family weren't healthy, that I was free to do things my way if I wanted to. She's been so patient but harsh when she needed to be. She's a true lifesaver, and I'm sure that's why my family doesn't really like her. She's shone a spotlight on what was wrong. She's helped me out of the rocking boat. I'm currently reading Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents and realized that my mom Elena is an emotional parent and my dad is a passive parent. If anyone has reviews about the book, feel free to tell me.